Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And we're going to have a great time today. We're going to be talking about getting back to maybe what the roots are of the program. And I didn't mention this to my guest. When we started, we were called The Socialite, and we talked specifically about issues that dealt just with using social media. And I see I need to tweak my camera settings here. I'm just going to keep going while I do this. But it's one of those things where we're going to be talking about how to use social media as a tool for your marketing, as actually a primary tool for your marketing. Wow, isn't that amazing? And so there we go. I'm back. I'm not fuzzy anymore.
There you are. I can see you again.
Gotta love technology, and it's funny because I did look softer and all of those things, but a little too soft, right? But so, it is one of those things where we have been using social media to market our business, but now I think even more so because of the pandemic, we need to really think about how we can use social media, and in particular Facebook, to market ourselves. And so I've got a great guest today. So please join me in welcoming Richard Fletcher to our program today. Welcome, Richard.
Hey, thank you for having me on, Deb.
Great. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So the driving force of Richard Fletcher's desire to make money without working too hard is sheer laziness. And I gotta love that you admit that. Plus the love of interacting with all types of people. Richard loves to spend time with his wife and cats, and prior to his life as a coach has been a professional gambler, a dating coach, and a volunteer in a pet rescue center. However, when Richard finally found his niche, his earnings exploded in a short space of time. So again, please welcome Richard Fletcher, an online coach who's helped people to get their $20,000 of business within a week or two just by tweaking their social media. So Richard, this is going to be great. We really are going to have so much fun. You've got quite the background, and I always love asking my guests how they got to where they are today and discovered that this is their passion. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, if I went into enough detail, we'd go in through the full hour in that. But honestly,
right.
It was really...
Especially a professional gambler. Holy schmoly.
Well, it didn't say I was a good professional gambler. There's a reason.
There's
a reason I'm still not doing it. But I did it. I did it. But it was more like it was gambling, but it's more like you can do a version of that's similar to kind of buying and selling on the stock market, but with sports betting odds, which I won't go into the details of, but you can do that. And I did that for about a year, but I found out I got to the point, it was really good when I started off in the summer of 2013, but then as winter came and there's fewer things to bet on, especially like horse racing stuff, who wants to go to a horse race in winter? And it's just like my earnings dropped off. And I got to the point where I got to like the end of the year and I'm just like, I'm earning what's essentially a rubbish wage here to be sat here stressed for 9 hours a day, staring at two screens, not talking to anyone all day, just basically talking to my cat and going slightly crazy. I was like,
and they don't talk back.
They don't really talk about it. There's the occasional meow, but that's about it. I mean, they don't disagree with me either, which is a plus. But, we don't really give any conversation. So if I went and got a job and I was like, but the place I got to here, where I'm actually coaching people on how to do this stuff, it was all born out of my desire. When I came back I went on a world tour after uni, and I came back in like 2003 after traveling, and I was just like, how can I work for myself? I don't want to be stuck in some boring corporate office. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if you enjoy it, but I think most people don't, It's just about finding what's right for you. I think most people don't enjoy going to corporate, even more so in America with the cubicles and all that kind of stuff, which maybe isn't a thing anymore, given where we're at right
cubicles.
Now. Yeah, but, as well, you've got a cubicle in your office at home instead. But it's like, I didn't want to go to some corporation doing work that I wasn't passionate about, wasn't really interested in. Sit there for 4 hours in meetings at a time, looking at the clock, going, when's it going to be over? And looking forward to 5 o'clock, and then getting drunk on the weekends, and then depressed on Sunday night because the weekend's over, and then start all again on Monday. I was like, I look forward to the 2 to 4 weeks of holiday you might get a year, and it's like spend the rest of the time just kind of wishing time away. I'm like, is that how I want to spend sort of like 40 years of my life? Not really. So I spent probably 10 years doing all kinds of different businesses and schemes, and some of them get rich quick schemes and all kinds of nonsense, before I actually found something that worked well for me. And the first thing that worked quite well was when I became a dating coach, where I was just, it's completely offhanded. I went to, there's a motivational speaker who's sadly no longer with us, called Sean Stevenson. I think he died last year, actually. And I went to his seminar in 2014 called Sean Stevenson's 10K Speeches, all about how he gets 10K or more per speech that he does all over America, and how to do the same yourself. So I went to that. And one lunchtime, I was having a conversation with a lady about relationships, the troubles that men have connecting with women and vice versa. And I was just kind of like, just give my opinion and just having a chat. I'm just like, you should be teaching this to people. You should be teaching this to guys. They don't really know a lot of this stuff. I was like, really? Just little old me? Anyway, as it happened, she had an ulterior motive because she was a business coach, and she helped me get set up and teach me how to kind of like find clients online and start a business. And that's where I started. And I did that for a few years, but then I ended up, I met my wife and we got married, and I just got to the point where I was like, I'm kind of bored with helping men, like same old guys with same old problems. And I found that I was in a lot of groups online talking about online marketing, and on Facebook talking about online marketing and how to make sales and stuff. And before I knew it, I was like, I'll start my own Facebook group. This was like 2 years ago in June. I started my own Facebook group where I could just talk about my own stuff and not disagree with the owner and not get kicked out of the group. I could do whatever I wanted. And then a couple of months after starting a group, it got quite over 1,000 people. And I realized that people needed more help than I could give them just for free in like Facebook posts. So I started a course, and that's grown. And here we are today having this conversation.
Cool.
So a bit of a random ride. I never intended to get to this point where I am now, but here we are.
And what I love about that is you kept doing things until you found what worked for you. And you tweaked it along the way. And I think that's, so many small business owners, they think, well, this, whatever this is what I have invested in. This is what I put my blood, sweat, and tears into. And we hate to let it go. And even if it's not working, I mean, and that's kind of the sad part. Or more importantly, if it's working, what do we need to do to improve it? I mean, that's the other thing too, is we don't always stop and think, okay, it's working right now, but what's it going to be doing in 6 months? Or what's going to happen if, say a pandemic hits?
Yeah. I mean,
and so people continually need to be reviewing things. And I love that you really focus on online. And we were chatting before we started the recording, that now more than ever, we can't go out and about. And it doesn't matter if you're here in the United States, if you're in the UK like you, if you're wherever in the world, we're pretty much stuck at home, and even for people who are going back into, say, a true office, they're not going out. They're not doing a lot of things. We're not going to networking meetings. And even if we are, it's very different, and I mean, I haven't even heard of people that are doing conferences, and we're, there are people doing networking things, but yeah, they are very different. So we're having to switch to really marketing our products, our services online. And I think so many people are finding, hey, I like this. This is not a bad day. I can do this in my jammies, right? The whole, okay, what are you wearing for Zoom? Well, we got this top, and then we got shorts and flip-flops on, right?
Oh, yeah, you don't want to see what's below the camera there.
I know. We don't want to see those things. And of course, when we're just marketing on Facebook, we really can be in our jammies. And so, you've developed this system that really helps people to do this. And what I love is we're not talking sitting at your computer for 8 hours a day going typey. This is not something that takes forever. So kind of tell us a little bit about it, because you call it the magic sauce. So first, what the heck is magic sauce?
Well, the magic sauce is actually, that's the name of my Facebook group. So if anyone's curious to know more, it's called the Magic Sauce for Online Marketing. Go and search on Facebook. You're welcome to join. It's like, I think it's about 5,600 people in there somewhere at the moment. Anyway, but The magic sauce is a name I came up with when I said back in June 2 years ago, and I was like, what's the name of my group going to be? And I literally thought about, well, what would be a cool thing for like a business? I was like,
Right.
what's the thing that separates a good business from another one? I'm like, it's kind of like the magic sauce. What's the
Right.
unique thing about them? So I called it the magic sauce for online marketing. I have to admit, I put about 10 seconds of thought into it.
But it works.
But yeah, it's still there now.
You know what? Isn't it fun when you do that? You're like, okay, well, this works.
Yeah. Normally I spend about like 4 weeks and come up with nothing, But the actual process I've come up with, the name of my program is called the ecosystem. And it's about creating an ecosystem on Facebook where essentially it's a bit like, if you try, when like you see like the strong man trying to pull a truck, and he's got like a rope, and at first he puts in loads and loads of effort,
right?
Or her, I don't want to be a massive sexist here, but I suppose a strong woman could pull a truck.
Oh yeah,
too,
women can do that too.
Yeah, I don't want loads of people at my door with burning pitchforks. Kind of a sexist, awful sexist pig here. So a strong person is there with his or her truck. God, it's exhausting. And he's like, you don't get much movement at first, and after a bit they start to get a momentum. They go, and they move it like this, and then they just kind of plod through, and then it just keeps on moving. What's kind of what the ecosystem is about. You need to put in a bit of effort up front where you've got zero brand, nobody knows who you are. But once you've got that effort and people start knowing who you are, start liking your content, well, you just start put out a regular amount of content that's not a crazy amount. What you'll find is that you build up fans who like to follow your stuff, but then those fans recommend other people to follow you. Be like, oh, you've got to follow Deb. Her content's amazing. Then you get people coming to you and be like, oh, my friend Susan recommended me to follow you. Can you help me with my business? Okay, let's have a chat about it. So I've got numerous people who've signed up to my highest level program who've been recommended by people who've not even been my customer. They just follow my content. So you get this sort of snowball effect, which actually probably best know if I explain the specifics of how it works, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the way I do it, it's actually a really simple process in order to understand, but the specifics of how to implement it are kind of how you live and die. On Facebook, on your personal feed rather than business page, if you make one post per day, but not a post about your business, not like, like a lot of people who join these MLMs who are like, join my team. Join my team, join my team, like 15 times a day. You don't
Here's what
like
you
that.
can get. Here's what you can get.
Yeah. Oh, new products out. Join my team. You could, become a distributor. And you're like, I got it. I got it on the first post.
I got it on Monday, and yeah,
I got it on the first 100 posts you made on Monday. Thank you. It's like unfollow, remove as a friend, whatever. So what instead we want to do is, instead of a lot of people, like if you follow people like Gary Vee and people like that, and I do like Gary Vee, he's kind of inspirational, but he'll say things like, you need to be posting as much as possible. You need to post, 7 times a day on Instagram or Facebook, whatever. And I'm like, I understand the principle of staying in front of your audience and staying visible. But the problem for me is that the more often you post, the harder it is to keep the quality high. So my thing is more about, I would rather post less often, but every post I make be as high quality as possible. So when people see my name in a newsfeed, they're trained to be like, this is going to be worth paying attention to. So I found the optimum out is if you can post once per day. In fact, I post less than that now. I probably post 3 or 4 times a week. But when you're starting out, the first month, post every single day for 30 days. But make sure that post is quality. Make sure that you're giving out some kind of useful value. And we go into more detail of what value is, because most people screw that up. Make sure you show some credibility. So these are people I've helped who are just like you, and you tell those stories of people who you helped get results. So let's say you're a fitness coach, you help somebody maybe lose weight or build muscles or whatever in a certain way where they tried everything before. They tried Zumba and P90X and Insanity and the Atkins diet and Slimming World and Weight Watchers and all those kind of diets and exercise plans and never got results, but they came to you and they got the results, and here's why. That's going to get people in a similar sort of space who are like, well, I've tried everything, I don't believe it'll work for me anymore, to go, maybe it could work for me this time. And what you find is that if you share one story of a person you helped, people are like, okay, cool, whatever. If you share 10 stories, people are now like, wow, Deb gets results. And they either, and what happens is, if they're ready for coaching and they want they want the result that you're offering, they will. You don't have to say, message me right now if you want help. People figure it out for themselves, and they end up in your messenger inbox and say, hey, Deb, can you help me with my marketing, or can you help me with whatever? And then you go through a process which I call filter and convert, which is simply filter out the ones who they can't afford your coaching, or you just don't like them, or you can't help them, or for whatever reason, you just don't want to work with them, and then convert the rest of them. And if you know how to do that, well, let's say you have a high ticket program. Let's say you're a coach who gets some really valuable results. And let's say you have a program that's anywhere, say 3, 4, let's say 5K, 5K is not a crazy amount of money these days. And you just sell one of those a week. That's basically 20K a month right there. And you're not really breaking sweat. It's much easier than like trying to sell, I don't know, 500 ebooks or 50 ebooks, whatever it is, at $47. Right. Yeah, 500 ebooks at $47 to get to your 20K. I'm like, oh, don't fancy that much.
Well, we'll talk about the difference between personal Facebook business pages in a second. But, on our personal pages, I mean, it is us, it's not our company. That's what the business page is for. So, you have, you talk about, doing a business post. What about, because it is our personal page, how much personal things should we post? So, do you post pictures of your cats, all those various things, or do you kind of keep it strictly business?
That's a great question. So I think everybody's got a decision to make, whether they want to use their personal profile for business or not. And a lot of people I spoke to, including clients who kind of, they speak to me about this at first, then they get over kind of the mental hump of it, going, but all my friends and family are on Facebook. And
they want to see the pictures of the cat, the grandkids, the whatever.
It's like, I don't want to be offending them by posting about my business all the time and then being like, oh God, Richard's only interested in money or whatever, or, whatever they're going to think. I don't want to be annoying them with posts about the business that they don't care about. And also, isn't it against the Facebook terms of service to promote your business on your personal feed? I'm like, well, actually, it is against it, but it is against the terms of service to promote a business on your personal feed. But
but there's ways to do it so that you
exactly.
Get
There's ways to do it. So you'll very rarely see me say, buy this now, sign up here, click the link. Instead, what I do is I tell stories about the people I've helped and the moral of the story of that. And I'll give you really useful stuff that you can go and use. I literally typed out posts where you follow these instructions and then you go and make a post doing that, you'll get 100 comments on your next post. If people actually do it, they come back and go, wow, that really worked. So that gives you goodwill. That gives people, that gives you the kind of thing where people are like, actually, this guy's useful. So I'm not going to go and report his profile to Facebook because I like following his stuff. Because I'm going to miss out on future useful stuff. Whereas if you just sit there going, I'm so great, buy my thing, well, you're going to annoy people. And that's when you get reported. That's when your profile gets shut down. But back to the original point of, well, hang on a minute, all my friends and family are on there. What you find is that, let's say you've got 100, 200 friends and family on there. You'll add people who could be your ideal customer, and you might get up to 2,000 or 3,000 friends. I recommend making maybe 90% of your posts about your business or relevant to, really, it's not about your business. It's about the person who's reading it. It's about the reader who is reading your post.
It's not buy from me.
It's not about me. It's not about me. It's about you reading my post. You have to, what you want to do is, but you want them to see the post and get what I call a feeling of recognition where they go, this is for me. You're talking exactly about me here, rather than just whispering on about how great you are. I've been in business for 57 years and we've made this many sales. Like, who cares? So anyway, like I said, there's a decision for everybody to make. Am I willing? Let's say I could say to you, Deb, next month you can make 20 grand by posting daily on your Facebook personal feed, but you're going to have to post a few less pictures of your cats or your husband or your kids or whatever.
I could do that.
You're like, would you? Are you? Is posting pictures of what you had for dinner last night worth 20K a month to you? I'm like, maybe it isn't. And the harsh reality is, people don't always want to hear this, is most people don't care about your personal posts anyway, unless they're particularly interesting. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, oh, it's been a long day, and you post a picture of your glass of red wine. Nobody cares. They care about their glass of red wine. Similar to the point I made a minute ago. Really, they care about themselves. They don't care about what you're doing. Maybe if you go on holiday and you share a few pictures, people will care, but only from a point of view of, I was thinking of going there, or I went to Italy last year. Let me tell you how great my holiday was. Pictures of your kids. Generally what I find is, if I want to have conversations with my friends and share pictures of stuff I've done, it's in a private WhatsApp group or one-to-one on WhatsApp or maybe on Messenger. I'm not really doing it on Facebook. If I share a personal post, it's either something momentous like, child has been born, just got married, that sort of thing. Which gets you loads of engagement, which is good for you anyway. Or there's some sort of relevant story. So I'll tell a personal story. Like sometimes I'll post a picture of my cat, but I'll find a way to make it relevant to my business. And that way it's kind of like people see the picture of the cat and like it and go,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I've got a cat just like him. But you get the lesson for the business. So it's not just,
Mm-hmm.
here's a picture of my cat.
Right.
So what? Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So it's about making that decision. Am I
Mm-hmm.
willing to get the good stuff out of the personal feed, but maybe
Mm-hmm.
lose what I've got already of the friends and family, And if you look, I would say, if you think that your friends and family really value the posts you make, look through the last 20 posts you make and see how
Mm-hmm.
many likes and comments they got. And if
Right.
you're getting hundreds of likes and comments on each one,
Mm-hmm.
and people love it, then hey, maybe it's
Right.
valuable. But in general, most of the time I look at people's profiles and they're getting like, 3 pity likes,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
I
yeah,
know. Yeah,
a
click, click,
comment
click,
off
click,
her
click.
mum,
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
comment off her mum being like, oh my God, great post, Daniel. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So are people loving it that much? No,
Mm-hmm.
really?
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
You
you
know,
just
and
got me on the soapbox here, Dad. Do
right.
apologize.
Yeah. And obviously there are people who only use Facebook for personal use, and that's perfectly fine.
Of course it is, yeah.
That was really why it was set up. It was, set up
Mm.
so that these little people in separate dorms could talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
And that, boy, it seems like a long time ago. It really wasn't.
Well, it was, yeah.
But yeah, I
Anyway.
mean, it was purely just for personal use. And there are certainly people who, and when we look through our feeds, we see people. It's funny. There are quite a few of the people that I'm friends with who I don't know what they do for a living
Mm.
because they're only posting and that's fine. That is obviously how they have chosen to use it. Now, it for people, it has led me to some conversations with people to say, hey, tell me what you do out in the real world. And so we do it on direct message. We do, things like
Mm.
that. And so it's interesting because I've made some really great connections that way too. I've looked at the pictures of, say, their dogs. We show dogs, my husband and I, and so we are connected to a lot of other people who show dogs. And so they're always just posting about their dogs. That's great. I love seeing those pictures. But a couple of times I will direct message somebody and say, okay, tell me what you do. Wow, that's what you do. I need to learn more about that.
Mm.
And so, yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. But, the tricky thing also with our personal posts is, as you said, not only do people not always care, let's be honest, we can turn people off that way too.
Mm.
As we are recording this here in the United States, we're right in the middle of the big presidential campaign. And I can't stand to even go on Facebook. It is so icky from all people posting about politics. They hate stuff, they love stuff. I mean, all these various things. And it's just not what I want to see. And so some people, the people that I know that's all they're going to post about, I have done the unfollow for 30 days. That's okay. I mean, and it doesn't mean I don't love them. It just means I don't want to see their political posts.
Which means I'm bored by them, yeah.
Yeah. And that is kind of one of those things that people really have to make a decision on, is if you're going to post about personal, whatever it is, you have to understand some people will be turned off by it. I had a conversation with a chiropractor one time who, and this has been several years ago, he posts a lot he's extremely conservative. And so that's a lot of what his posts were, whether it was, very, very religious or very political in a conservative way. And he said, what do you think? Am I driving customers away? And I said, possibly. I said, you very well might be doing that. And I said, but, it comes back to, who do you want to serve? And so he continued to post. I mean, I ended up not following him just because it was the same stuff over and over again. It was like, I don't need to see that. But, and so you have to realize, okay, are you chasing people away? And more importantly, are people going to look at what you're posting and go, okay, I'm not going to refer people to them because of things like that. So, but again, personal decision. And there are some people that, it's the most important thing for them in the world to be posting about college football. Okay, they're going to post about college football.
You're just not going to make any sales.
Right, right. And so that's perfectly fine. Then I've had other people say, well, I'll have 2 Facebook pages. Now that is, or personal pages, that is against Facebook's rules. And they will find out. Facebook's algorithms are really pretty smart, and they might shut down both of your personal pages. So you don't want to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, you just have to figure out what you're there for.
Mm. Absolutely. And I think, and once you make that decision to go, I'm going to use this for business,
Mm-hmm.
you stop making all the political
Mm-hmm.
posts. You stop talking about whether
Right.
Trump's great or terrible,
Mm-hmm.
or what you think
Mm-hmm.
about this case or that case or business,
Mm-hmm.
no, but what you think about coronavirus and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, because it's about your business now.
Mm-hmm.
It's about putting food on the table. And
Right.
yet you can make the odd post about this kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
generally, I don't share really strong political views. I barely share
Mm-hmm.
any political views because it's not about me.
Right.
My page isn't about me. It's
Mm-hmm.
about you, the reader. It's
Mm-hmm.
about how I can help your business.
Mm-hmm.
And if I start ranting on about coronavirus or Trump or whatever, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just another bloke who's got an
Mm-hmm.
opinion. It's like, do you know what? There's only 8 billion of those around.
Right.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
nobody needs to hear another opinion about whether Trump's great or not. We've heard all the opinions,
Mm-hmm.
but
Right.
wouldn't it be useful to see something? If you see something from me and it's like, it makes you laugh and it's entertaining and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's a good story. And it told you something useful about your business. You're like,
Right.
you know what, I can go and use that.
Mm-hmm.
That's more useful than
Mm-hmm.
yet another rant about the political situation. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, that's the 15th one I've seen in 16 posts
Right.
I've scrolled through on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook today. Going back to what I said ago about offending your family, what I found is that some people won't like it. And that's kind of, you will have that one whiny cousin who you
Mm-hmm.
see once a year at family dues, who's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're doing that business thing again. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen 16 posts from you this week. Have you
Mm-hmm.
been, have you been taking it easy or something? Ha 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 ha. You're like, okay, you've got to deal with that. And maybe those people can unfollow you. And
Right.
I don't really get any hassle from people, but if
Mm-hmm.
occasionally people did say, hey, I don't mind. I know we're family, but I don't mind if you want to unfollow me
Right.
so you don't see my post, because it's about
Mm-hmm.
business and I know it's not interesting for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if they want to do that, that's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
We can still be friends. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found a lot, and I found this a lot with my clients as well, is that they find that people start coming out of the woodwork, like
Mm-hmm.
friends of theirs who are on Facebook who never comment,
Mm-hmm.
who are like, oh, there's one of mine who joined my copywriting course recently. She joined a couple of months ago. She's a painter.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, how can I sell paintings on Facebook? And I could see
Mm-hmm.
how you can sell coaching. I was like, share some of the paintings that you've done.
Right.
Do
It's
some,
a
do it-
visual.
Yeah, it's a visual thing. Yeah. But don't just say, oh, painting for sale. Talk about some of the paintings you've done for other people and how it's transformed certain
Right.
rooms in a house. Talk about how they had guests around recently and those
Mhm.
guests commented on the amazing painting, how fabulous it was and where they could get one and how it's unlike anything they've seen before in
Mhm.
anyone's house. And it's not just like some boring IKEA thing where there's 10 million of them and everyone's got them in the house. Now what
Or
you
that
do
thing that's behind me. Mhm.
yeah. No, I like that mass-produced print.
It's a mass produced. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it's like people come around and compliment, and you're like, oh, it's mass-produced. But if you can have a story behind it, be like, oh,
Right.
there's this little artist near
Mhm.
me, and she's only
Mhm.
done 10 of these prints, and I got one of them, and I was so lucky, and all that. It kind of makes you feel a bit cooler. So it's like
Mhm.
when you tell those stories about how I've got this unique thing,
Mhm.
people are going to read it and be like, oh, I want a cool, unique print in my house instead of
Mhm.
all the boring prints I've got up already.
Mhm.
So she started putting content out like that and doing live videos over the
Mhm.
shoulder of her doing a painting from scratch, where she's
Ooh.
explaining what she's doing.
Mhm.
So what that does is that's great for credibility, because nobody's going to be watching that and be going, okay, I'll do my
Mhm.
own prints. But it just shows she knows what she's doing here.
Mhm.
Like, it's
Right.
interesting to watch. And she said that people have been stopping in the street, like people like, a couple, not randoms, but like a couple that she knew
Right.
who
But people
she's
she
not spoken
knows.
to in
Yeah.
6 months. She's like, we didn't even know you were a painter.
Mhm.
Oh, your stuff's absolutely brilliant,
Mhm.
And then the husband's like, can I buy 3 of these prints as well while we're at it? That's the kind of stuff you'll get. You'll find that people are interested. I've got friends who basically I go on a drinking holiday once a year with some boys. Like a year ago, one of them said to me, like, oh yeah, I follow all your stuff. I watch all your live videos. I'm not interested in it because he's in like a day-to-day job, but I'm interested in what you're doing.
But it was
'cause
still
it's
interesting to
something,
him.
it's interesting to him because it's something different.
Mhm.
Something different to all the political rants and,
Mhm.
oh, this team won at sport last night. Isn't that great or terrible? It's like, oh, okay, brilliant. Who cares? It's like, it's something different. So they follow it and want to see what's going on. So actually, you're providing for some members of your family, some friends, you're providing a form of value on the feeds because it's something different. And some of them will just hate it because, frankly, some people will hate that you're doing anything to better your life.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah, those usually are family members, but that's a
they
totally
often
different
are, yeah.
conversation.
No, this is your place down here on the ladder. Don't try and get up here. I'm here. You're here. Okay,
Yes,
stay
yes.
stay in your box, please.
Right. Yeah. Definitely stay in your box. And of course, the other important thing as we're doing this is that then, as you said, we're getting other people engaged. So like
Right.
your artist, the coolest thing is when somebody else posts on her page about one of her paintings. I did this just yesterday about my dog. It was very funny. We had commissioned a piece of art about of our dog several years ago. He's a show dog, but he was far more our pet than the show dog thing. And they lost the order. We forgot about it. Now, obviously we hadn't paid a lot of money for it. And they contacted me a month or so ago and said, oh my gosh, we found your order and we discovered that we had never done this. And they said, would you still like to do it? And I said, well, he's actually passed away, so this will be a very cool memento. Long story short, found the picture, got it to him. We got it yesterday.
Wow.
And it's phenomenal. You'll have to go to my Facebook page and see. I mean, it's very cool. But there have already been, let's see, let me just look here. Where's I have the new Facebook and I don't like it. I can't even find my own stuff. But yeah, so I posted this picture. Of course, I tagged them. That was the important thing, was that I tagged the artist in it. And I said, it was great that they found this old order. They fulfilled it. It's beautiful. So let's see, I posted this last night. It already has 158 likes,
Wow.
loves, all those things, 38 comments. I mean, and so, but the important thing is because I tagged them and I told them I was going to do this. People are now going to them to say, oh my gosh, we saw this. We want you to do something for our pet also. So whatever your business is, that's the greatest form of advertising that's there.
Brilliant. Yeah. I mean, they could use that. So if I was that business, I'd be going, okay, I'm going to use, the snipping tool or take a screenshot of my phone or whatever, cut out your post and then say, hey, do you mind if I use this?
Right.
And then use that as the image in my own post to say, this is what people are saying about me. So, this person came to us and actually, I'd probably start it off. Quick tip for your readers: if they want to create posts that are more engaging, that make people want to read, start your post off with what I call an open loop. You know what an open loop is, Deb?
Right.
Yeah.
You're generating discussion is the long story.
Right. Yeah. So the open loop is I think it comes from an NLP term. It's like it's what soap operas do every single episode, where the woman walks in the bedroom to see her husband in bed with her sister, and she's like, "Oh my God, what the and then
end of episode."
It's like you have to watch out. I have to watch tomorrow to find out what's going to happen. It's like spoiler alert, she's going to get annoyed and start shouting and throwing things. I can tell you that. That's kind of what you do in your opening thing. So instead of what a lot of posts do is. You see this a lot with like these motivational coach, inspirational posts. They say things, they start their post off with things like, you've got to be the change you want to see in the world. You've got to be authentic to be a success in business. And it's like,
blah, blah, blah.
First of all, very bland. I've heard it 100 times before. Well, secondly, I don't need to read the rest of your post because I already know what the whole thing's about.
Right.
So I already know what you're going to say. You say you've got to be the change you want to see in the world. The rest of the post is going to be about how you can't sit at home moaning about the state of the world. You've got to get out there and you've got to make changes. And then people are going to see what you're doing and they're going to be inspired and blah, blah. It's like, I already know this stuff. I first heard this stuff when I was about 20 years old. It's not new anymore. It's not exciting. But if you started off the post about, say, the company who did your dog, and they started off with, so we made, so you could start the post off with, so we made the screw up of all screw ups recently, full stop. Next line. Then you'd be reading that going, what was the
because
screw up of all screw
gosh, they're admitting they screwed up.
Yeah, you'd be like, what's going on here? A bit of controversy, that kind of like juicy story. If you started it off with like, yet another great customer success for us, you're going to be like, okay, well, here's someone bragging.
I know, because we're always going to talk about our successes, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, right, okay, but you hear some juicy gossip, you want to hear something bad that happened. Yeah, let's hear the gossip. It's like if a friend says, oh, you'll never guess who cheated on who. You can't help yourself, no matter how enlightened you are.
I know. We look at the train wrecks.
Yeah, we're like, oh yeah, who was it? Was it? Well, was it this person? No. Was it this person? No. Was it this person? No. It's like, no. We just can't help. You want to find out who it was. And it's kind of the same here. Like, what was a screw up? What was a controversial thing? It's the open loop. It's where you open a question in your reader's mind that can only be answered by them continuing to read. Now, you don't want to do that in every single post because that then in of itself becomes predictable. People start to feel manipulated, like, oh, Deb's doing that open loop thing again, where she teases me with the answer.
Right.
Well, I'm not going to read it this time, Deb. You're not filming me this time. But yeah, you do that. You do that in general. You'll be amazed how much more entertaining and interesting your posts get. What I think with most posts on Facebook and Instagram and any platform you like is people read the first line, maybe the second, and then they scroll on by.
Right.
So you could be posting your best stuff. You could be posting like really brilliant stuff in the rest of your posts, but no one's seen it anyway. People wonder why they get no engagement, no sales, no whatever.
Right. Well, and and Facebook truncates the post.
Exactly,
I'm looking at one that you did yesterday, and it's got 3 sentences and then see more.
Exactly.
You have to have really gotten somebody's attention with those first 3 sentences before they're ever going to click see more.
So this one itself didn't get loads of engagement because there's different
It's
types
still
of posts.
fairly
I
new.
know we're going to get more. I got like 26 reactions and 11 comments. But I started off with, you can be good at sales, but screw up by not seeing the current trends in your industry. So that's going after a very specific kind of person.
Right.
And a lot of being able to make sales, it doesn't matter whether you're a plumber or whether you're a business coach or whatever. You've got to understand who you're talking to and what their specific situation is. So I'm not aiming at everyone who wants to be a success in business. People who go to my highest level program typically are people who have businesses already and have some sort of program and making sales, but just know they could do it better. For example, I did a post recently about a client of mine who came to me like, I think it was actually towards the end of last year. She had a program. She was already doing over 10K a month in sales, doing well, run businesses for years, but she was only converting at 10% on a sales call. So I talked about why she was doing that and how I got up to 40% within a couple of days of talking to me, and how you don't have to follow the standard sales processes of like batter the person into submission, like it's like a gladiatorial thing and you have to win against them. There's a different way you can do it, especially if you're introverted and you don't like doing the hardcore sales stuff, which a lot of people don't. It doesn't all have to be this alpha male chest beating, the hardcore closer, all that kind of nonsense. I made a post about that. That kind of stuff doesn't get loads of likes or comments, but the kind of person I'm aiming at is in that position where they go, right, everyone else is saying I need to be this sort of chest beating alpha male, but you're saying I can do it another way. Well, that post generated someone in my inbox going, yeah, I've been thinking about this sales thing recently and I hate the way everyone else is telling me to do it. Can we have a chat about it? That person then becomes a client. So it's about, this post here, you can be good at sales, but screw up by not seeing the current trends in your industry. Well, somebody who considers themselves to be reasonably good at sales, who's already at a certain point in the business, might read that and go, maybe he can take me to the next level. Those are the kind of people I want to work with.
What are the current trends? And but I don't have time to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So then they might get curious and go, well, is my content good, but not seeing the current trends, and I'm on the wrong side of a trend, and I'm becoming, like I say in the post, you're the embarrassing uncle dancing at a wedding. You think you're on the cutting edge, but everyone's laughing at you, and you don't even know it. Well, that then makes you think, I wonder if it's me. Then they might end up in my inbox and go, okay, well, can you tell me more? Can we have a chat? So those sort of posts generate leads. But that first line of you can screw up by not seeing the current trends in the industry makes you go, well, am I screwing up?
Am I?
And it makes you want to carry on reading.
Right. And you're not saying you are screwing up, because then people are like, well, no, I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
So
that's a great point. Yeah. So some basic rules I go through, and sometimes you break them now and again, but
general, sometimes it gets people's attention to do that.
But generally the rules I go through is I try never to say anything that's going to make my audience defensive. So anything, those kind of things, it's like, listen up, loser, you need to pay attention if you're going to make a success in your business.
Nobody wants to read that.
Nobody wants to scroll their Facebook feed and feel like they're being told off by their mum, when they're 8.
Right.
It's like,
there's enough of that anyway.
And nobody wants to feel like that. I think a lot of people do this because they want to come across as this like tough coach who's got it all together, who knows what they're doing. But really, it's just like annoying to read. So instead, I try never to make you wrong. You might be doing the wrong things, but you did them for the right reasons.
Right.
You might be doing the wrong things because you followed coaches who said, okay, you need to spend $5K a month on sending people to a webinar and then taking calls off the back of that. And then you've been spending your $5K a month and just getting rubbish people on the back who've got no money, who are never going to sign up. And you're like, what's going on? Yeah. Well, I could be like, why are you doing this, moron? Or I could just be like, look, you've been doing this and you followed the program diligently and it didn't work. Here's why. and I explain exactly why it didn't work and what to do
Mhm.
instead. Now I've got the person on side, but I never once said
Mhm.
that they were wrong or they were stupid.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things. I never try to make someone wrong, and I never try to tell people what to do either. So I never say you need to do this.
Right.
So instead, I might say, if you want to get this result, this
Mhm.
kind of result, you could do this, or you could
Mhm.
do this, or you
Yeah,
could do that.
consider doing.
Yeah, yeah. So I say, if you take this path, this
Mhm.
is what's likely to happen for most
Mhm.
people. If you take this path, this is what's going to happen. Or you could take this path, and this is
Mhm.
what happens. By the way, this path is the path that involves you giving me money for coaching. Like my previous clients, Emily and Beth and
Mhm.
Susan,
Mhm.
Jim or whatever, they did this, and
Mhm.
here's where they were at after 1 month. Here's
Mhm.
where we're at now. But the moral of the story is da da da. So what I do
Mhm.
is I call them statements of credibility. I throw in
Mhm.
these little lines of credibility
Mhm.
for how I've helped people who are
Mhm.
just like the person reading. But I don't just
Mhm.
go, oh, nice, so great, another great result for me.
Mhm.
Instead, it's kind of like I'm telling stories or saying, here's how you can do this. And then using clients of mine to illustrate the point.
Mhm.
So it's like using a real example. Here's how this happened for my client.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you're getting the message, oh, this guy isn't just blowing off steam. He
Mhm.
gets results for people just like me. So
Right.
you see enough stories like that over time, eventually you're going to be like, I should probably send this guy a message because
Mhm.
I know this guy's expensive and I wasn't planning to
Mhm.
spend like, 7.5K on coaching or whatever,
Mhm.
but I really need his help. Ooh, go on, let's do it. And
Mhm.
I get people in my inbox who've been following me, been following me for a year or longer,
Mhm.
who are like, okay, I'm now ready.
Mhm.
And I don't always know what caused them to fall off the
Mhm.
fence now, but it doesn't matter. But that's kind of what the great thing about
Mhm.
this method. It's not like running an ad where it's a
Mhm.
one-shot deal.
Right.
Give or take. Obviously, I know you've got retargeting, but every time you're
Mhm.
spending money, it's like that I'm not bothered if one post doesn't do well or
Mhm.
I don't get any leads off one post or one
Mhm.
post doesn't do well engagement because I come back tomorrow with something else.
Mhm.
And over time, it's like weight of numbers
Mhm.
eventually causes people to sign
Right.
up.
Right. And it's that consistency. And,
Hmm.
and I think that's one of the things that always catches people is we all want the quick fix.
Mm.
And so that's why many times people are like, okay, we're going to run an ad, we're going to run a Facebook ad, we're going to run a LinkedIn ad, we're going to do whatever, and and they target it to a huge number because when you ask somebody who's their audience, they'll tell you everybody, which is of
Yeah.
course the most wrong thing they could say. And so they might target it to 10,000 people. That's a very conservative number, especially on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
But they're going to target a huge number. So not only because they didn't target it, is it really not going to be seen by people, because unless you're going to spend a major amount of money, it's not going to be seen by a lot of people. That's if you've got a limited budget, you really need to do a Facebook ad that is very, very targeted so that the right people see it. But they think, well, we're gonna dump $5,000 in this one ad. It's going to be seen by 1 million people. Well, most of those 1 million people were not your audience. They're not going to buy from you. They don't care about it. So they scrolled right on past. Several of them you might have annoyed, especially if it appeared in their Facebook feed numerous times. They're like, no. And then of course Facebook will ding them for that. And then when that one ad does not work, they go, well, no, can't do this again.
Yep.
So that's where what you're talking about is so successful. It's like you said at the very start, the pulling of that weight. It's the slow and steady, and you're not going to see huge results right away. I mean, yeah, there could be the fluke every once in a while where it just
Yeah.
hits the right person at the right time.
It's the odd case, but generally, yeah, it
Right,
takes
right.
a
Yeah,
little bit of
it's
time. Yeah.
yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
take time, and you have to keep doing it. This isn't let's give it a 6-month try. No. This is something that you need to continue doing. And again, you're not talking about doing this every single day. And so that's the cool part about this. Now, obviously it depends on what you're trying to sell and all sorts of things. You might have to post more frequently. But, especially if as you were saying, if you've got a larger ticket type of item, you're not going to do it nearly as often.
No, I mean, generally, I don't like to see more than one post a day off people. I mean, there's occasions where you might post more than twice a day, but as a general rule, I don't want to see. I've got people on the newsfeed who appear like 7-8 times a day. The quality just isn't there. They can't.
Right.
There's one good post every 10 times, and you're just like, and it's just.
Yeah. Okay. More the
It's
same.
also
More the
not.
same. Mhm.
It's also important to think about not just what gets results, but how do you want to live your life? In terms of
Right.
your business. Like,
Right.
a lot of us were in corporate jobs where
Mhm.
beforehand, where we were miserable all day in meetings.
Mhm.
So why then do
Mhm.
things in our business where we're spending all day doing things we don't want to do,
Mhm.
like spending all day in a state of
Mhm.
anxiety because you're thinking about what your next piece of
Right.
content is. You're like,
Oh yeah.
I've got
I'm supposed to
7
post
pieces of
today. I
content.
have to post today.
I've got
Oh,
7
what am I going
posts
to
I've got to
post
get out
today?
today.
Mhm.
You're like, you make your first post at 9 a.m. and as soon as you post it, you're like, oh my
What's
God, what am I
next?
going to post at
Mhm.
10? And then
Right.
you're flapping around, you get something out. And what am I going to post at
Mhm.
11? It's like,
Mhm.
at what point do paying clients come
Mhm.
into the picture?
Mhm. Right.
Instead, I get my post out the way usually in the morning, and
Mhm.
a lot of days I don't make it. Sometimes I go 2 weeks without posting, if I
Mhm.
don't have anything to say.
Right.
But I've reached the point where I can do that because I get enough
Mhm.
referrals, and
Right. Yeah. So
it's
that's
big enough. You
okay.
can't do that at the
But you're
start,
still consistent with
but I'm still,
posting, at least
yeah, I'm
every
still
couple weeks.
consistent. Yeah, it's still consistent. Generally, is an average. Probably I'm posting still 3-4 times a week.
Mhm.
But it's it's about I get my post out the way in the morning, and then I can spend the rest of the day.
Mhm.
Literally, that's my marketing done for the day. If
Mhm.
anyone messages me or get comments on that, then I reply to the comments and
Mhm.
message people.
Right.
But that's my marketing done for the day.
Mhm.
The rest of the day, I can spend serving people who paid me a lot of money to be their customers. And the
Right.
great thing is that because I'm not spending all day churning out content and trying to do 7 posts on
Mhm.
Facebook and another 7 on Instagram and then some on LinkedIn and then do a YouTube video and then do Pinterest and
Mhm.
TikTok and God knows what
Right.
else.
You just
Well,
spent 4 hours
you
doing
spend
that.
you spend
Mhm.
all day doing
Mhm.
marketing, you're not serving your
Mhm.
customers. So then you don't get as good results. Instead, I
Mhm.
look at it, I flip things on the head and go, okay, what's the minimum amount I need to
Mhm.
do to kind of have visibility and
Mhm.
separate myself from everybody else who offers
Mhm.
what I offer? Then how can I get the best possible results for as many of my
Mhm.
clients as I possibly can?
Right.
Not just good results, but great results.
Mhm.
Because then I can feed those results back into my content,
Mhm.
which knocks more people off the fence. It
Mhm.
also means those people who enjoyed my working with me tell other people about me,
Mhm.
and then I get, oh yeah, Anna said that you worked with her and she really
Mhm.
liked you, so can we have a chat? So then those people are super easy to convert
Mhm.
because you come pre-approved.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
and before you know it, you're not really having to do much marketing at
Mhm.
all because people come to you. I feel like if you've been in business, especially as a coach,
Mhm.
well, pretty much anything really, if you've been in business longer than like a year, 2 years max, and you're having to still work really hard to get new clients,
Mhm.
then something's wrong.
Mhm.
You're not either you've not had enough clients,
Right.
which means there's something wrong with your marketing, and
Mhm.
or you're not getting good enough results for
Mhm.
the clients that you do have. Because when you get great results for people, they rant and rave about you, and they
Mhm.
tell everybody around.
Right.
And you don't really have to you don't really have to market
Mhm.
yourself much after that.
Mhm.
So I don't know, something to think about. Obviously, what I've said there may make some of your listeners defensive,
Mhm.
but sometimes people need to hear this stuff.
Mhm. Right. And it comes back to great content
Mm.
that people interact with, because the key on Facebook is, and they change their algorithms. So
Yeah.
as we say this, things could change. But if you write, say, 2 great posts a week, and they get tons of interaction, whether it's likes, shares, comments, all those various things, that drives them into people's feeds.
Yeah.
And but if you write 20 posts a week that get 0,
Mm.
then they don't appear in front of people. I mean, that's the other
Absolutely.
thing that people are always thinking about with Facebook, and I hear all the time is they say my posts aren't being seen. Well, that's because they're not providing content that people care about. And so Facebook, in its algorithm says, well, if people don't care about this, we're not even going to show it. It
Mm.
is that catch 22.
Mm.
How do you get it seen? Well, it has to be great content. Well, how do you, and so that's where mentioning people by name, if you can, and getting other people to tag you, all those various things, that starts letting Facebook know, hey, Richard has great content. So even though he only posts 3 times a week, we're going to make sure that his friends see that. So we're going to push it more into their feeds.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if it's true. This is my own theory on the Facebook algorithm, but this is just born out of kind of what I've seen in real life in terms of results. But I think my theory is that there's I think you get 2 quality scores. And the quality score is a term I've made up. It comes from Google, really. But I think you get 2 quality scores. Number one is the overall quality of your account. Is this an account that people seem to like in terms of the posts and engagement and discussion? I think Facebook are looking at all kinds of things like how many likes and reactions you get. I think certain reactions are worth more than others. I think that's why they introduced those 6 or 7 reactions, whatever it is, a year or 2 ago. Because
now we have care.
Yeah, now we have care, whatever that means. Weird thing that is. Like, to me, it looks like a confused face. Like, well, it is.
I
But
know.
anyway.
I always think the little guy's going, huh?
Huh? What? Yeah, I'm like, actually, if it was that, like a WTF, like what? That would be a useful reaction. I'd be all over that.
Yeah, and a dislike. I really want a dislike button, but
a dislike button, maybe like a little FFS emoji or something. But I think Facebook, what Facebook are trying to do, we have to go back to what the goal of Facebook is from their point of view. The goal of Facebook is to make as much money as possible.
Right.
Obviously. How do Facebook make money? Well, once every 6 posts or so, there's an ad. And Facebook make money by people seeing their ads and clicking on them because they charge the advertiser. How do people see as many ads as possible? They spend more time scrolling on Facebook. How do they spend more time scrolling on Facebook? They see stuff that they like.
Right.
And then Facebook goes, how do we know if people are seeing stuff that they like? Well, they're interacting with it. Interactions also include that button that you said, the see more button, where you said you only see a little bit and it opens out. Well, that's an interaction as well, because you clicked on that and it opens up. So if people are consistently looking at your post to read it, Facebook know that's interested. If people see the first line scrolling by, boring. If people click on the photo to see the whole thing, that's an interaction. If people leave a comment, that's an interaction. So I think, in terms of like what Facebook values, if someone shares your post, I think that's at the top of a tree, because it's like sharing someone else's post to your own feed and making it your own content says, wow, this is amazing. I think like is at the bottom because anyone can just scroll through and go, okay, like, oh, my friend posted that, go on, click like. But in order to give a heart, you have to hold down the like button and put the heart. That says like, I love this. I've gone to extra time.
You took an extra time to do it.
The ha reaction. Like, oh my God, that was hilarious. So Facebook did these extra things to see, okay, we can now give extra juice to the extra reactions. Then it looks at the comments. I think it's not just looking at comments anymore, going, how many comments are there, but it's also looking at what's the density of the comments. So is somebody saying like a few paragraphs in response, or they're just saying yes? You know those kind of posts where you're like, comment social media secrets below to get my free PDF and it's 300 comments to say social media secrets. Facebook are cracking down on that kind of stuff now because rightly so, in my
cheating.
opinion. Because that's cheating the system. Marketers ruin everything. As Ryan Dice said, I think at the traffic and conversion thing in 2016 or whenever I went to it, marketers ruin everything. So then the powers that be have to then close these loopholes.
Right.
So now Facebook looks at, okay, is this a proper discussion, or is it just 300 comments where it's all one comment deep, or is there a discussion where people are actually replying back to each other and chatting in the comments? That's a valuable discussion. So Facebook, then, if you have lots of posts like that, Facebook says this is the kind of account that we want on in our ecosystem, because this is going to gets people coming back for more. It promotes discussion. It gets people seeing ads.
Right.
So you have that as an overall account thing, and then you have overall single posts that then have their own quality score. So that Facebook says, okay, this is a good account. So you've got 2,000 friends. We're going to show it to 100 of those friends first, instead of a bad account, which might be 10 of those friends. Making up numbers here. I've no idea what the actual Facebook sadly don't release this stuff. And again, this is all, and it changes,
like we said.
This is all my own, hopefully educated guesses. Facebook shows to 100 people, and those 100 people do nothing and nobody reacts. Facebook doesn't show it to many more, and your post die. But if loads of people interact with it, now Facebook shows it to another 100, and then they react well. Suddenly, everyone's seeing it, and your post blows up. That's why you see these posts where 3 days after you posted it, it's still getting comments.
Right. You're like, well, what the heck?
Facebook's showing it to more people who comment, and then you see it again, and then you see it again. Whereas you can make a post that gets a few comments initially and then dies quickly because no one else interacts. So it's about this understanding of going, not every post needs to get loads of comments, but you need an account that is in good standing in general terms. So if you've made a few posts that don't get any comments, you want to make an engagement post to get a bunch of comments to then boost your account back up.
And ways you can do that is to ask questions, to do things, and things like that. Well, Richard, we've only got about 5 minutes left, and we've just scratched the surface. Obviously, we need to chat again. But the one quick thing I want to mention is the difference between personal and business pages. Business page engagement is minuscule. I mean, and that's
Oh, yeah.
probably the easiest way to put it. I think businesses need a business page for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that's how you can do paid advertising. You can't do a
Yeah.
paid,
Yeah.
but, and I have clients who have business pages, and we actually get pretty good engagement on them, but that is because we post a lot of really good content. But, people just, maybe it comes down to we buy things from people we know, not businesses.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason that I stay away from business pages, and as you said, you use a business page for ads, that's about it. The main reason I don't try to build my business page is the engagement is just so poor, or because Facebook, from what I hear, the reach on Facebook, reach being defined as how many people what percentage of people does Facebook, if you've got 1,000 followers, what percentage does Facebook show it to?
It's like under 5%.
Anyway, I think it's like 1 to 2%. So you have 1,000 people following you, Facebook shows it to 10 of them. That's not great. Well, if you have 1,000 friends on your Facebook personal, Facebook might show it to 100, then 100 more, because the way Facebook works is it has to keep the reach high on personal feeds. Otherwise, Facebook dies as a platform. Nobody's getting any engagement and people get sick of it. It's like, I'm making these posts. No one's interacting. Right. I'm sick of this. I'm going to go and use,
I'm going to go to whatever the next.
I'm going to use TikTok instead.
Yeah, that's it.
There's a reason that everyone's saying, because TikTok's new, there's a reason everyone's saying, the engagement on TikTok is through the roof. Why? Because they want to encourage people to stay there. That engagement's going to drop as the user base goes up. And, but so in terms of the business page, I'm just like, why would I go somewhere where the organic reach is so low? Now, the caveats to that are, if you've already built up a good audience and you did it in like 2012 when the engagement was good, when the reach was good, well, maybe you've now got, say, 100,000 followers. Well, Facebook has to show it to, say, 1% of those. It shows it to enough people where, say it shows to 1,000 people. There's going to be enough people in that interact, then it means Facebook's going to show it to more people and so on. And you can make it work that way. But if you've only got 100 followers, it's really hard. Not impossible. It's just harder than doing it on your personal. I'm like, if you've got a business page with hardly any followers and you've got a personal page, why not add people as friends who could be clients and then start posting on there? Because you're going to get much more engagement. As you rightly said, Deb, people interact with people. If I see Deb on my news feed asking a question, and I'm going to be like, oh, well, she's asking a question, I'll interact with that. I know the answer. If I see Deb's super duper power hour asking a question, I'm going to be like, this is obviously some business ploy to get engagement. This isn't a real question. She's just doing it as a tactic. So then I don't answer because I feel like you're trying to manipulate me. And that's really one of the problems with trying to do this sort of method organically on a business page. People see businesses as businesses and interact with them with a level of suspicion.
Right. Well, and if you have a business page, obviously, you need to be using it too. But the key there is, and on your personal page too, respond when people post questions. One of my biggest pet peeves in the world is when I go to somebody's business page and basically am saying, hello, I would like to spend money with you. And I get crickets. Nobody responds. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm on to the next business.
Next one, yeah.
So, and same thing with your personal page. If somebody says, hey, Richard, tell me more about your program, and you don't respond, not only did you lose that potential business, but they're going to tell people, don't bother asking. And so, really it is about that engagement, about that interaction. And really being that trusted resource for people.
I believe in every area of life, not just business, you train people for how you want them to treat you. And you kind of, I think that it's not just, tell me more about your program or tell me about your business, but anything they comment. Like when I believe if somebody does, like kind of, it's a bit Pavlov's dogs this, but if somebody does what I want them to do, I want them to reward them for it.
Right.
I don't want to penalize them for it. So I've had it numerous times myself. Like I leave at least what I think is an intelligent comment, not just like the odd moronic comment, like, yes, I agree. Yeah, lol, or whatever. I take some time to think about a comment and I type out a few sentences that I think is thoughtful. And then the person responds, it feels like the person responds to everybody but me, or they just don't respond to anyone. And then it comes across as like, oh, they think they're too good to respond or they can't be bothered. And you're just like, well, I made this comment, and I'm not sure if anything got anything out of it. So why did I take the time typing it? I'm not going to bother next time. Whereas if you, especially for new people on your feed, like if someone's been commenting for ages and then they don't get a comment back from you, but they normally do, they're not going to be too bothered. But if someone, because obviously they've seen the history over time, but if there's a brand new person who's never commented before, you want to reward them, even if they just say nice post, and you like their comment, you reply back with,
you acknowledge them.
Thanks so much, appreciate it. Thanks so much, appreciate it. Doesn't take you much to do that, but then they feel rewarded. They feel like, oh, it was worth me doing that. They're now more likely to comment next time. And obviously, Facebook is more likely to show them your post next time as well, because you've had an interaction.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Richard, like I said, we have to do this again because, there's so much more that I want to talk about, like, why you choose Facebook over the other platforms. I want to hear some specific examples of things that people have done, all these things. So we'll get you on the schedule again. But until then, tell people a little bit more about what it is specifically that you can do in the services that you offer.
Okay, so it depends where the business. Mainly in my highest level program, which is the ecosystem we mentioned before, I'm helping coaches. There are some exceptions. Generally helping coaches who have some kind of decent priced offering to sell, where you get you get a transformational result. You take someone, you help people make a valuable change in their lives. I show you how to make those kind of daily posts on Facebook, where you make those posts, you build that brand over time. It doesn't always have to be a long time. Sometimes it can be fast, but you build that brand over time. People end up in your inbox. I show you how to convert them, and now you're making sales. That's my highest level program. I've got a lower level version of that, which is called the Facebook Copywriter, where you can, it's a self-study course where I show you basically all the stuff I've learned about copywriting in the last 15 years, and you go through the videos yourself. There's a private Facebook group where you can ask questions and a live Q&A every week, so you can get some support. But it's not like the highest level program where I'm going through every post and giving you feedback on every word, and we're having one-on-one calls, that kind of stuff. But no, at a lower priced element, you can go through that as well. So I'd recommend, if people want to check out the copywriting side of things, I do a free 5-day challenge, which shows you these. I've got 4 types of posts I do on Facebook, which kind of fall into this, what we've been talking about for the last hour. If people want to learn how to write those, I do a free 5-day challenge every 6 weeks or so in a private Facebook group. So if people want to find out that, best place to go to is go to my Facebook group, Magic Source for Coaches. Magic Source for Online Marketers. Forgot my name of my own group there. I announce it every time it's happening, so you can find out when the next one is. I'll send you the link and you can go join up. But yeah, otherwise go there or go to my website, magicsourcemarketing.com, and you can find out more stuff. There's a blog on there, lots more content. You can find my stuff on there.
Great. And the easy thing that we can remember is, hey, we're looking for that magic sauce. So magicsaucemarketing.com. Exactly. Well, this has been absolutely delightful. Do you have any final words that you want to leave everyone with?
The other thing I've been thinking about recently is, if you've been trying to figure out, well, how can I make this thing work? Stop trying to chase after, okay, what is the right way to do things? Tell me what the correct method is. Should I post 3 times a day or once a day or 7 times a day? Should it be Instagram or Facebook? Start figuring out, okay, what is the right way for me? What is how can I stand out from everybody else who's doing what I'm doing? How can I have my own unique place in the world? Whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, doesn't matter. How can I show myself as being unique from everybody else? That's when you're going to start having results. I mean, that's literally the first thing in our program that I talk about on how to get that for you. Because until you've got that, it doesn't matter what strategy you're using or how often you're posting. You just come across as the same as everybody else and you get ignored.
I love it. Well, I've really been having a great time talking with Richard Fletcher. Can't wait to do it again. I'm Deb Creer, and everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.